Greetings, Group 5. This is for me to provide you feedback on your presentation on all 15 of your slides. This is your presentation on recommendations the government and society should have on the 5 STEM factors. This is for you, Izzy, Letitia, and Shakara. Okay, so let's get started. First one, at least you put the title in the front and you indicate your Group 5 in your name, so I'm fine with that. Next slide. Small formatting issue for me is if you're going to look like you did a cut and paste from your actual outline notes. I would just suggest that if you're going to just use this strictly as speaking points, which is fine, I actually like that, but make the science, technology, engineering, and science a little larger. Not sure where you're going to go with that, other than just to indicate what is STEM, which is what your presentation says. That's fine. And make sure, I suggest when you're saying what the letters stand for, you also may want to give examples and define each one, though you could do it on the slide as well. So, your recommendations. You outlined the 5 recommendations, which are not bad recommendations at all. So, very good to you all in the group for coming up with them on your own. Competitiveness, motivation, increased minority representation, increased awareness, and expand the job market. So, I think those are 5 good solid areas which you can suggest that the government would make some recommendations on STEM. That's not bad. I'm going to be looking forward now to where you are drawing your data from and your rationales and justifications for each. Let's see what you have next. So competitiveness, staying up to date with technology and science and continuing education and training. So you're defining how. You're not necessarily defining why as far as on this slide. So when you're speaking to these points, you may want to make sure that you indicate not just what competitive is and how to do it, but to define why this is important. So I want to hear that as part of your presentation. So if you don't include it on your slide, make sure you speak to it in the presentation. Otherwise, it's going to come up with questions from your peers. Next slide is motivation. And again, it looks like my comments are going to be pretty much the same for each. Speak to not just why, but the justification for each and not just how you should do it. So motivation, you have exposure, mentors, internship opportunities, and job corps. Here's another formatting issue. You've got 3 different font sizes here. That's kind of distracting from your presentation. You don't want to make it hard to read. Make sure that you've got plenty of space. You're not using too many photos, which is kind of something that I think that I disagree with. You should use more than just text. You've got more than enough space here to do both. But make sure you're hitting on both points. Use some visual effects in essence, as we've discussed before. Perhaps you're going to incorporate some small video or movie. Again, I'm looking for where you obtained your information from, what justifies your recommendations using motivation. The next one is increased minority representation. Why is this important? Bridge gap between minorities, build outside relationships, create educational programs in all grade levels. So those are actual action plans to some extent. Well, they're not actually the same. Bridge gap between minorities. What is that? Why is that important? Build outside relationships. Outside relationships with whom? And create educational programs in all grade levels. Is this specifically for minority representation level? Is this a strategy on how you can increase the minority representation level? So if your slide is entitled Increase Minority Representation, I'm not sure if these 3 bullet points exactly effectively speak to the 2 points that you need to speak to on that. Increase awareness. What awareness? Increase awareness of STEM. Don't make that an assumption. So awareness, increase awareness. You have corporate sponsors and marketing. Are those how to do it, or are those the rationales of why we should do it, or who should be doing it? I'm unclear. Again, these are just your speaking points, looks like, or your bullet points. There's no visuals to kind of give me an idea of whom or what direction you're going to or what impact. I'm not sure if these are the stakeholders as we've been speaking about before as well. So this slide, I would suggest you put a little bit more text information on it, or at least be sure to answer both of the questions I've mentioned before, as far as not just these are your responses, but also the justifications behind them. Expanding job market. Creating incentives, check that word, for small, local, nonprofit, and corporate organizations. That looks like it's just one. That's a rationale of a motivating reason why we should do more in STEM, or why we should be more competitive in STEM. At least the government should be. I would like to see what your definition is going to be on this one, so maybe I'll go back and look at your outline and see if you spoke to it there. Otherwise, again, visuals missing. Not sure if it addresses both. It's just a strategy. Government's role in the economy. Now, this is where your slides start going kind of south. I'm not quite sure where this fits in, because it looks like you've addressed all of the original 5 motivating points of why government should be interested in STEM. But then you're talking about the government's role in the economy. I'm not sure if this was a tie into your original point. Let me look. Nope. You ended with increase awareness and expand job market. So let's see. Increase awareness, expand job market. Yeah, so this kind of comes out the blue. I'm not sure where this slide. It's stabilization and growth. Government's role in the economy. Consumers and producers make most decisions that mold the economy. Government activities have a powerful effect on the United States economy. Federal government guides. Fiscal policy. Okay, so this kind of comes out the blue, out the last portion of your presentation. Um, don't get me wrong, it's interesting information, but you're speaking to something that I'm not sure was part of your presentation. And if it was part of your presentation, as I initially indicated, it certainly wasn't on your beginning slide. So if this is part 2 of your presentation, then it needs to set it on the beginning part of the slide, and I can speak to it a little bit better. What it's going to make me do is go back and check and see what you were originally assigned to do. And I don't recall it being the government's role in the economy. Perhaps it is, but I'm sure I was focusing more so on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So I'm not sure if the last slides, Izzy, this has you written all over it. Okay, I'll stop teasing. It could be you, Shakara, or Letitia. It could be either one of you. But Izzy, it sounds like you. Anyway, this is pretty much a description of the history of what's been maybe taking care of our financial or fiscal downfall for the United States governments in the past 3 to 5 years. Interesting, but I'm not sure to what relevance it has to your presentation. So you may want to rethink that. So that's my presentation and feedback for the group on that one. Your first 9 slides are pretty okay. I would like to see some other maybe suggested impacts of. You really didn't say how this impacts individuals themselves in the classroom or your peers on what they can do, other than just what the government should do, what the impact it has on them. So that may be another direction you want to take on it, or if you want to figure out how this last fiscal responsibility aspect of the government, if you can find a better tie-in to STEM and the government's role and responsibility, if I can find a better tie-in, fine. If not, I would say accent. That's it for my feedback. Good luck on Wednesday. I look forward to seeing your final presentation. Take my feedback as is. Just do note if you put those last 6 slides in, you're going to confuse your audience, and it won't be real connected. So let's see what happens on a Wednesday. Good luck. Email me if you have any questions. I'll be posting this up on Facebook, YouTube for you shortly. And don't forget, you don't have to write your paper, but next week you do have to do your self-group or self-and peer evaluation form. That's what you have to submit for next week. Have a good one, guys.